Hi friends, welcome back. So today's video is Dr. Gupta explains new swine flu with pandemic potentials discovered in China. The moment I got to know through you via the comments, I was like, oh no, not one more again. Because we're still struggling fighting with Corona, and now here's this information saying there's something else coming from China, it looks like. But before we go ahead and start with this video, yes friends, we'll try and make another video on the same topic in Hindi. तो इसी का टॉपिक पे एक और हम वीडियो बनाएंगे जो टोटली हिंदी में होगा. और this one is from CNN, so I'm guessing it's going to be in English. So if you, and it will give you a picture exactly, what are the thoughts in US. And then we'll do another one which will be from Study IQ, and that will show you exactly, what is being taught in India. So we'll get two perspectives. So before we go ahead and start with this, I guess I should, let my husband tell you a little bit about who Dr. Gupta is.
Right. So I mean, I'll really say that all the news channels have a team of experts. Right. The experts are, for example, people who were lawyers at one point. They have done great lawsuits. They're retired now. Some people who were retired generals. Some people who had been in the politics. They were probably retired, senators and or people of high officials who were working in Washington D.C. And they also have doctors. So Dr. Sanjay Gupta has been with CNN for a very long time, and he's their go-to doctor, kind of part of the CNN team of experts. So any issue that happens, any news that occurs, they want to fact check it. They want to make sure, is it true? Whatever is going on, is it correct? And then they check with their experts, and then they give the opportunity to their experts to come and talk about it. That way nobody can challenge that, who are you to tell? Then you are really saying, hey, this is a MD doctor who's telling you, right? He is a retired general who's telling you. So they're telling that these are our experts. And similarly, every channel has their team of experts, and Dr. Gupta has been with CNN for a very long time. So he's associated with them. He's obviously a part of CNN now, and he hails from India.
Yeah,
And,
I was about to say, and the
and
best part is that he's from Indian origin
yeah,
like us. So
I mean,
as
when
we
you,
said,
right.
Indians, they're outshining here too.
Right. So he is an Indian American like us, and he has some documentaries on his website also, where he shows that after many years, when he goes back to his native town, then what happens and all that stuff. So yes, I mean, you will see many Indian Americans throughout, the news channels, and even in the White House. So in the White House also, there are some very senior people who have represented the Democrats at one time, and there are many who are representing now the Republicans. So there are a lot of Indian Americans in all places throughout the U.S., and this is one example. So very nice to see. I mean, when people see in a mass scale, those who look like us, it becomes easier to have a livelihood here, because you would have seen all the news that's going on about all the tensions going on, and it is good that when Indian Americans are coming in such places, they understand that, okay, these are also a part of our community.
Yes, friends. And yet, friends, before we go ahead and start with this video, if you're new to the channel and you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you get notifications of all our new videos as soon as we upload them. And after watching this video, if you like it, then make sure to hit the like button and share the video with your friends and family. So, okay, friends, let's quickly get started with this video and get to know exactly what this is all about.
I want to put up on the screen again so people can see the 16 states. 16 states have announced they are pausing or hitting the brakes on reopening plans to different degrees. In most of these states, though, it's measures like closing bars. We're seeing that in a lot of places. Not opening beaches on Memorial Day, July 4th weekend, I should say, Sanjay. Now, these seem like reasonable decisions, but how far will they go? Is this enough?
Yeah, well, I mean, under the current situation, we see how the numbers are changing. We see how they're growing, and this virus, once it starts to really get enough steam, it's present enough in the environment, it's going to move faster and faster. That's that exponential growth that we've been talking about. So it does make the case that something more may need to be done. And, I think that we are dealing with the situation now where we may need to actually go down into shut down sort of mode in some of these places again to really try and break the cycle of transmission. Something needs to be done. I mean, the idea that we're still having a conversation about masks, these basic public health measures, I think is going to seem very silly, a few weeks from now. It's whether or not they do it now or they do it later, it's going to have to be done. I mean, when Dr. Ann Schuchat's talking about the fact that things are starting to spiral out of control, that's what she's sort of referring to. One thing I'll mention as well, obviously indoor sort of gatherings where you have a lot of people indoors together, unmasked, that is a breeding ground for this virus. I think most people realize that by now. So crowded indoor restaurants, crowded indoor bars, definitely. But I would also add to that list, as we've done some of our reporting around the country, that large private gatherings inside people's homes, those are harder to monitor, obviously, harder to enforce, but that's got to be key. And I think people really have to rise to that, because a lot of people are doing these gatherings inside their homes, and we're starting to follow, to the extent that it can be followed, trace those people back to their own homes and further spread.
And as we're looking forward, Sanjay, obviously we've got a long road ahead, we know that, but there's this new reporting, the BBC talking about a new flu strain in China found in pigs, but that has pandemic potential. We're already worried about the regular flu season coinciding with coronavirus this fall. What do you make of this?
Well, this is something we've been keeping an eye on. This is called the G4 strain of H1N1. So this is a descendant of the H1N1 swine flu that people may remember from 2009, 11 years ago. What happens in these situations, they've been doing surveillance in pigs for some time, really since 2011, and for the most part, they have not been finding any kind of strain of flu or some virus that was concerning. But there's this one particular virus, the G4 virus, which kept showing up over and over again in pigs. And then they started to look at the workers, the pig workers, humans, and they found that it actually was present in a certain small, like around 10% of workers as well. So that's sort of where we are. What they haven't seen as of yet is any evidence of human-to-human transmission. So that would obviously be critical, and if it doesn't ever spread human to human, I think this is not something that we're going to have to worry about. But this is real. I mean, this is what virus hunters do. They keep an eye on things like this, and there's all these sorts of surveillance programs going on around the world. Most of them we don't talk about much because we don't want to freak people out. But this is one that we're definitely keeping an eye on.
Yeah, on top of everything else. Obviously, we don't need one more thing to watch. Sanjay, I want to address something, because people who watch the pandemic closely have noted that the mortality rate, the number of new deaths every day, has consistently gone down. It's at a low ebb right now. Now, obviously, it's a trailing indicator. As these cases go up, up, and up, it might rise again. However, if there are younger people making up this group of people who are coming up with the new infections, what questions do we have about the mortality rate going forward?
Well, I don't think we still have a clear vision on exactly what the mortality rate of this virus is, because it's always been influenced by so many other factors. But I think there's three points here. One is that this trailing indicator. So I think without question, there will be some impact from all these younger people who are getting the infection and subsequently spreading it. We've been doing a lot of metaphors on this program lately, but they would sort of be the kindling, if you will, for this fire that we're talking about. So not directly setting the fire, but maybe enabling it a little bit more. Two is that, we have learned a few things over the past few months. We haven't learned as much as we would have liked, but we've learned a few things. Patients on ventilators maybe don't do as well as we thought, so ventilators weren't as critical to the care for a lot of these patients as we initially thought they might be. And there's a few therapeutics, remdesivir, dexamethasone. These are things that are being used that could have an impact. We've learned how to better manage these patients. But I think the biggest thing is this idea that even if people aren't dying, if they're still in the hospital and the hospitals become overwhelmed, what ultimately is really driving these fatality rates is preventable deaths. People in Italy, what we saw, and it was really awful. I was talking to a lot of sources there at the time, was that people just simply couldn't get care. They'd be calling the doctor, calling the ambulance, and they'd be told, look, we're full. There's nothing we can do for you at this point. And so that drives up mortality rate as well, over 10% for a while in northern Italy. That wasn't because the virus had changed. That was because the hospital systems were too overwhelmed. So, these three things in combination have to sort of be managed. The last one, obviously, the most important, flattening that curve. But ultimately, we hopefully will continue to learn more in the form of convalescent serum and other things to really help take care of these patients.
There's been a real focus on young people as we're seeing the average age of infection trend down. But we're also hearing from governors around the country that they're concerned about how young people are spreading it, that they are perhaps a little bit more cavalier in their actions. There's a bar in East Lansing, Michigan. 107 cases have now been linked to that, all between the ages of 19 and 23, which begs the question not only of how much it's spreading, but also how concerned we should be about younger people getting sick. Because as we heard, from a doctor in Miami this morning, he's seeing younger patients, but they're sicker.
Yeah, so, overall, if you look at the percentages, I think the data that's held up is true, that younger people are less likely to become critically ill. But the problem is, I think to your point, Erica, is that as more and more young people get sick, the absolute number of young people who develop some devastating illnesses is going to grow because there's just more people who actually have the virus. I think, what we're seeing is the message to vulnerable people, older people. My parents live in Florida. They're in their late 70s. They get the message that they're really trying to be careful. So, and people who have pre-existing diseases, for the most part, trying to be careful. But I think for other people, as they become more cavalier, it could have been expected that this very contagious virus would start to affect them more. I think the big question as we go into fall, as we go into winter, is how much of that spread is then going to go back from younger people, inadvertently, admittedly, from younger people back to these vulnerable populations. I'm fearful that that's going to happen. That, there's going to be people who've been doing the right thing. They've been, managing themselves at home as much as possible, just going out for essential things, who are inadvertently going to become infected because the virus, the amount of virus in the environment just becomes too high.
So friends, what was amazing was the topic was, it seemed, focusing on this new virus, but instead it was more focusing on corona. But that is again a very important topic. And this is the situation that is in US and similarly in India too. The cases are increasing. And they are saying here in US, it is the younger population which is, going more outside, taking less precautions. And they are the ones who are getting infected, and then they are bringing that infection to the parents or people who have pre-existing conditions, who have been taking precautions at home. So that is creating a lot of problems, and the cases are rising higher and higher. And definitely that's because the lockdown has been open, the bars are open. And as I was showing, all these states which were in red, those are the ones where the cases are increasing at a very high rate. And it seems they said that they're closing the bars there and even beaches and stuff, because we have 4th of July right now coming up. And that's an occasion where everyone wants to go out and celebrate. So they're trying to, curtail that kind of gathering. And this also reminds me that recently I read a news, and that was a news in Texas where a family, they had a surprise birthday party. And that caused in that party about 18 to 20 or maybe even more people who all got infected because of that. So it seems like, we are taking less precautions, whereas it should be the other way around.
Right. So there were some very good points in this, clip. And the first point was that in the US, the number of infections are actually increasing. Number of infections on a daily basis are increasing, but the deaths are decreasing, because there is always a delay between when you get infected versus when you die. And the delay is a person who gets infected can die between 2 to, they are saying, few weeks. So if you get infected and you are really in a bad shape, you could die 2 days to a few weeks later. So what he was saying was that now that the infections are increasing, it is possible that the rate of people dying may also increase later on. Then the second point was that the places where the bars were open, that was, I guess, a bad decision of opening the bars, because the people who were going in bars were mostly youngsters. So when the bars were opened, the youngsters were going in, the youngsters were getting infected, and now they are seeing that the youngsters are getting infected more. Earlier the thought was, no, it doesn't affect so much youngsters, but what they are now seeing is it does infect the youngsters. And why he said that? He said because the volume of virus in the environment has now increased, so it is affecting everybody more. Then the swine, I mean, there was a very good thing that he said about virus hunters, which means that there are people in all countries who are in charge of monitoring the viruses. And they were monitoring the H1N1 that took place in 2009 by infecting the pigs. So they're infecting the pigs with H1N1 and doing some experiments and seeing is there anything else coming up. And they found out that there is a swine flu or G4 strain of that H1N1 that continues to keep up, comes back. So basically pigs are not able to, are seeing this new virus, and they are fighting out that virus. And then they said, okay, let's check the workers who are handling these pigs, and they found that the workers, 10% also have the virus. But now it is not, they are not sure whether it is being transmitted from a human to human or not. If it does not transmit, then everything is okay. Only the people who were in contact with the pigs got infected. So it went from pig to a human, but it is not going from human to human. So all they have to do is they understand, okay, we were doing some experiments over here, and now this is, and again, they're talking about, I believe, China or something. So yes, so that is a threat, but as of now, it is not a threat because human to human transmission has not been confirmed. Then, they were really talking about, what the US should do, and that's pretty much it. I think some states, as we said, are rolling back, and that's pretty much what's happening. So even in India, the number of infections are increasing, so the graph eventually will change. And they said in some hearings, some doctor did say that things are going out of spiral, so they need to do more. And they were kind of saying just closing bars is not enough. You need to do more. So that's how they were trying to say, okay, these states have closed the bars, but is it enough? So they're asking you to think about it.
Yes, friends. So this is another, video which warns us to be very careful, because the situation, we might think because the lockdowns are open, they're all gone, things are getting better, which is not the case. Things are getting worse. So guys, please be careful. Try to stay at home as much as possible. And we'll go ahead and take your leave, and we'll come back again in another video very soon. Till then, take care and bye-bye.
Oh, and if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so it notifies you when I put in my new video for you to enjoy. Bye!